Chapter 71 Uchiha Class Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. There are two words that sum up how to fall in love quickly: heroes save beauty plus share joys and sorrows. I believe that if these two people go through all this, their relationship will definitely ferment quickly. At first, he thought it made sense to do this because Tsunade was Hashirama's granddaughter. Later, he gradually realized that Tsunade had a special identity and was particularly suitable for guiding Aokiji to fall, so he became the only choice for Tsunade. If the plan goes well, love should be born between these two people, and then they will wait another 2 or 3 years for this love to be consolidated and sublimated. When Aokiji realizes the most beautiful things in the world, he will take action and tear them to pieces with his own hands. He will kill Tsunade in front of Chin Pheasant, and because of the betrayal between the villages, at that time, the heartbroken Aokiji will awaken the Mangekyo Sharingan due to the large amount of special chakra produced in his brain and pour into his eyes, completely degenerate and become hating the world. Of course, for the sake of insurance, he has also cast a ninjutsu on Shinji on psychological suggestion over the years. Generally speaking, ninjutsu that is implicit in the mind often has the disadvantage of timeliness. For example, he could directly give Tsunade a mental hint of falling in love with Aokiji, but this mental hint may disappear the next day, and Tsunade will return to her original self. Really high-end psychological suggestion ninjutsu requires very complicated conditions. The most important condition is that the person being performed the technique must be in an unstable emotional state. The more excited the person is, the more significant the effect will be. In this way, this ninjutsu the effect will be twice the result with half the effort. This is equivalent to a layer of insurance he has given to Chin Pheasant. And opening the Mangekyo Sharingan is the perfect opportunity. P.S. It's better to make a patch for Obito's huge change in personality, otherwise a boss who has persisted for so many years will suddenly be convinced by Naruto's mouth, which is a bit nonsense. Aokiji's eyes, who have fallen under the power of the kaleidoscope, will lose their light without incident. At this time, the clues he deliberately left for Aokiji will appear. Knowing that Uchiha Madara's Mangekyo Sharingan will prevent blindness, Aokiji will definitely search for it to regain the light to replace his own eyes. At this time, he will let Aokiji find his eyes through the clues he left deliberately before, replace his eyes, and then let him see the things he left about infinite Tsukimi. At this time, Aokiji will become the successor of Uchiha Madara's unwavering will, of course. Plans are plans after all and may not keep up with changes, but the general idea is almost like this. The first step is to find an opportunity to bring these two brats together. Therefore, when Aoji heard that Aoki was in a mood and didn't want to do these two tasks, Uchiha Madara behind the scenes manipulated boss Itachi to put on a bad face and resolutely stated, "No, your two tasks are related to the prosperity of the family. You have to do it." "No, I just want to do easy tasks like catching pets every day to maintain my life." Shinji held his head and cried, "I just want to be safe and live an ordinary life like having a few wives. Ah! Why can't the family let me go?" "Aoji, you are not young anymore," Elder Weasel said in an educational tone. "Don't always think about what the family can do for you, but think about what you can do for the family. Well, let's not talk about how many benefits you have gained from being born into the Uchiha family. Let's just say that the bad things you have done over the years have brought disgrace to Uchiha. The family is very dissatisfied with your behavior, and they even blame me for being too indulgent to you. I am under a lot of pressure every day. You should be a little considerate of me as an old man." Chin Pheasant pursed his lips, but he had received a lot of favors from Elder Weasel, so he still had to go, but he had to shout a few words to solidify his character. Elder Weasel closed his eyes, took a breath, and said to himself, "There is nothing we can do." Chin Pheasant was stunned. Elder Weasel turned his back. "Follow me." "What? Let's make some gestures." "Huh?" Shinji was stunned for a moment. "Elder Weasel, are you planning to surrender to me by force?" After saying that, he glanced at the other person, who was holding a cane, with a wrinkled face, and a skinny figure. He couldn't help but joke a few words. "Elder Weasel, say goodbye. You are already old. What if? Wouldn't it be a sin for me to slip up to my waist? Are you looking down on me?" The Elder Weasel's eyes were as sharp as a sword, and the green pheasant felt as if he had been killed by a sword. He suddenly felt a huge pressure. He took a breath of cold air, and then exhaled a breath of hot breath to suppress his shock. He joked, "I'm just joking, don't take it seriously." Although he is old, his aura is truly unparalleled. He is worthy of being a man who fought in the Warring States period in the past. Let's go. Aoki nodded in agreement and silently followed the other party. Soon he came to a small river. Following the water flow, he could curve around the Hokage rock and flow out of the village. This is a very hidden place. No one usually knows about it, so naturally few people come. Elder Weasel held his crutch with both hands and knocked it on the ground twice, signaling the other party to take the lead. Aoki Pheasant was not polite. When he came up, he used his skills and used water release and water fong bullet to test it out. Elder Weasel's strength is bottomless, he can hold nothing back without worrying about hurting the other party. The river water was pulled by Aokiji ninjutsu, forming several whirlpools, and 4 water pillars shot out towards the target. Elder Weasel grinned, adapted to local conditions, and controlled the nearby river water to attack. This kid knows how to use the environment to fight, but that's all. Elder Itachi opened the Scarlet 3 Magatama Sharingan, and started fighting with the Sharingan. This was Uchiha's habit, facing the water guns fired from 4 different directions. He jumped up and barely managed to dodge the hammer blow from the green pheasant that jumped up and raised his hands high. Shinji jumped in the air, but was not discouraged. He changed his gestures and released the seal, pressing his palms on the water surface caused by the water fong bullet not hitting the target just now. Ice escape, broken sword cliff. In an instant, an icicle appeared on the surface of the water and shot straight into the sky. Water escape can use nearby water to reduce chakra and enhance power. Correspondingly, ice escape can also use nearby water to achieve similar effects. Moreover, the timing of this move was perfect, and it was difficult to avoid Elder Weasel in mid-air. Elder Weasel narrowed his eyes slightly and hummed, "Not bad." As he spoke, his hands were already ready. Fire escape, the technique of large fireball. A fireball hit the icicle, instantly turning it into a dense white mist. Looking at the perfect landing of Elder Weasel, Shinji snorted, "It's really not that easy, is it?" At this time, Elder Weasel on the other side spoke, "Chin Pheasant, use all your strength." Shinji said depressedly, "I've already taken them all out, okay?" "No, I mean to open your Sharingan." Hearing this, Shinji's wide-open eyes suddenly widened. Chapter 72 Brainwashing. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It seemed that it was interesting to see this surprised expression, and Elder Weasel's teasing smile appeared on his lips. "Based on your brain, you should be able to feel it to some extent. My attitude towards you is somewhat different from that of other tribesmen." Chin Pheasant pretended to be confused. "What do you mean? I don't understand very well." "You really like to pretend to be stupid, right? But this is where you are smart." Elder Weasel slowly raised his right hand and formed a seal with one hand. "Look into my eyes." The moment their eyes met, he poured chakra into each other. Shinji had a slight headache. In just a moment, he remembered the sealed memories. He smiled bitterly, and the last luck disappeared with a sigh. "Sure enough, you knew it from the beginning." Elder Weasel laughed like a winner. "Little devil, don't think everyone is so stupid." Chin Pheasant shrugged and spread his hands. "Now that the matter has come to a showdown, I saw that his irises, which were originally as dark as night, were dyed into Yaoji's pigeon blood red, and a black dot appeared near the pupil, spinning and dragging into a bar pattern." Elder Itachi's inner canthus narrowed, his eyelids were half closed, and his deep pupils shone faintly. "You are really lazy." Uchiha's power has not been cultivated at all, and it is still in the state of a Magatama. Shinji closed his eyes, and when he reopened them, they returned to their original state. "No, I call this caution." Shinji said without understanding, "Why do you suddenly explain it to me directly now? Otherwise, how could you, a brat, be willing to work obediently for me?" Elder Weasel grinned, with a hint of cunning at the corner of his mouth. "Aoji, you don't want everyone to know about your double blood inheritance limit, right?" These words sound so arrogant. Shinji's tone is faint. "You will lose me if you act like this." "It doesn't matter, as long as you are willing to do things for the family obediently. Qing Pheasant was very depressed, he worked so hard and failed. Why did the script always go out of his control? When he read the novel, the protagonist's plan was basically flawless. Why did he not follow the script at all? Okay, stop complaining. I'm going to tell you now. In addition to asking you to be a little more honest, I also have to explain something important to you in advance. Qing Pheasant tilted its neck, looking confused. Elder Itachi's voice was low. I hope you will not use the power of the Sharingan in the future. No need for Sharingan. Qingji couldn't understand what he meant. To be precise, don't use the power of the Sharingan until you become Hokage. Be a Hokage? Qingji's face was full of confusion. What's going on? Elder Weasel said in a very calm tone, it's nothing, just literal meaning. Aoki became even more confused. I don't quite understand why I want to be Hokage, and I don't even want to be a ninja, let alone Hokage. This is all for the Uchiha family. When Elder Weasel came up, he gave Qingji a hat of family justice, making him want nothing more. But what does this have to do with me not using the Sharingan? Besides, even if you don't tell me, I don't plan to use the power of the Sharingan. Qingji didn't understand, and was as stubborn as a child. The greater the ability, the greater the responsibility. Those who have great tolerance serve the village and the people. I have heard such nonsense in textbooks, and it is troublesome to think about it. I don't want to be Hokage. No, you have to do it, this is a matter of life and death for us Uchiha. Elder Weasel's tone was a bit stern, and his tone was non-negotiable. Qing Pheasant was startled. Is Elder Weasel so insightful and farsighted? Elder Weasel's tone was a little softer and he persuaded, do you still remember what I told you about the tailed beast last time? Qing Pheasant said thoughtfully, what's wrong? We, the Uchiha clan, are born with huge pupil power. Among them, this pupil power is one of the only two powers that can control tailed beasts. The other one is wood release. But now that wood release has disappeared, Sharingan is the only one that can control tailed beasts. The ability to control tailed beasts. Hashirama's wife Mito looks young, but in fact she is very old. No one knows that he will encounter an accident one day, and the perfect Jinchuriki who can replace Mito is not so easy to find, so at this time, he has the ability to control the tail. With beast power, we will naturally be wary of Konoha's higher-ups. Beware. Elder Itachi spoke seriously, with worry in his eyes. Yes, Uchiha and Senju are the two founders of Konoha. In the first session, Senju Hashirama was elected Hokage. We Uchiha had nothing to say, but in the second session, we still have nothing to say. The Senju clan and the Uchiha have naturally started to have opinions, not to mention that the third generation is not from an Uchiha, but from a young boy like Sarutobi Hiruzen. If the competition continues with this momentum, I can't imagine the entire Uchiha no matter what kind of extreme behavior the family has committed. As a member of the Uchiha clan, you should understand how outsiders evaluate our clan. It is not impossible for us Uchiha to do such a thing. Although our Uchiha family also has this ability, this kind of thing is very risky after all. If it fails, then our Uchiha family will be wiped out. Disaster. You must have heard the saying cutting off the grass and eradicating the roots. When the time comes, you, who is born in the Uchiha clan, do you think you will be able to survive and be safe and sound? Aoki took a deep breath and said weakly, no way, the third Hokage seems to be a pretty good person. Stupid, let me tell you, anything anyone promises you doesn't count. Only things you can decide on yourself count. Do you understand? Qingji pretended to be under pressure and nodded in agreement. Elder Weasel saw through it immediately and scolded him sternly, no, you don't understand, you are still young and have no idea of the evil in the world. I once believed in the village, and worked hard to gain the village's trust. Later, I found out that I was wrong. The top management of Konoha was afraid of our strength, and they continued to exclude and be suspicious of us. Take examples in recent years, where the children of daimyo relatives were persecuted by genjutsu and became idiots. The conditioned reflex of the top management of Konoha was caused by our Uchiha family. It's ridiculous, it's a blatant frame-up. Is it possible that we Uchiha are the only ones who have the Sharingan and are naturally highly accomplished in the field of illusion, so we think so? It's ridiculous. We are not the only Uchiha family in Konoha who are proficient in illusion. Why is our Uchiha family the first reaction? Having said this, Elder Itachi paused and looked at Aokiji specifically. Uchiha has no fault, Huaibi is guilty, and if he wants to impose a crime, there is no reason to worry. Qingji's sighing voice was full of helplessness. Uchiha's natural political attributes. Konoha's top brass would naturally not miss this opportunity to suppress Uchiha and keep them away from the political center. Intelligence often determines the outcome of a ninja. You don't have Sharingan in the eyes of outsiders. This is a great advantage. Others will miscalculate your strength and underestimate the enemy. When the time comes, Uchiha's power will become your turning point. The key to victory or defeat. Elder Weasel changed the topic and said with a serious expression, "Tell me honestly, who else knows about the limits of your double blood inheritance except me?" Aoki sighed, "Besides you, there are Tsunade and the other three." "What, the three disciples of the third Hokage you are talking about?" After hearing these words, Elder Weasel's eyes changed, his eyebrows were raised, and his eyes widened. "What happened?" Elder Itachi was heartbroken. "You're confused, aren't you usually very cautious? Why are you so careless about this matter? Wait, you guys would rather tell them, but you won't tell me directly? Are you an Uchiha Taoist?" Qingji smiled bitterly and said, "Well, if I told you back then, wouldn't you have caught me and forced me to train like this? Then my plan to become a ninja would have been ruined." Elder Itachi snorted angrily, "Why did you tell them? Aren't you afraid that your abilities will be exposed and you want to become a ninja?" Qingji was stunned. "I don't think there should be too much concealment between friends, and don't you think it's hard to keep secrets in your heart? Naturally, I need a few people to help me share it. The situation in the future will change rapidly, and there is no guarantee that he will encounter any difficult opponents. At that time, he may have to expose the power of the Sharingan to defeat the opponent. At this time, it was important to vaccinate the Sannin in advance to avoid any suspicion between them. As long as he gets rid of the three little ones of Sarutobi Hiruzen and lets the three of them support him, he doesn't believe that he can't compete with Namake's Minato. Oh, by the way, he can also directly pull Namake's Minato into his camp in advance, and then it will be up to him whether Sarutobi Hiruzen will give him the position of Hokage." Qingji comforted him, "Don't worry, Elder Weasel. I told him in advance that they won't tell anyone else." Elder Itachi sneered, "That's not necessarily the case. You have to know that people who betray you are often people close to you. This kind of thing is not uncommon in the ninja world." Qingji lowered his head and thought for a while, then raised his head, and happened to meet someone's eyes. After all, he was the only one around. Elder Weasel frowned. "What are you looking at me for?" Chapter 73 Kusanagi Sword. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qingji said weakly, "It's nothing. Didn't you just say that the people who betray you are often the people closest to you?" Elder Itachi scolded, "Idiot, what's the benefit of betraying you? What's the benefit to the Uchiha clan?" Madara Uchiha, who is behind Aokiji, doesn't know whether the three Tsunade people will betray Aokiji, but he will quietly leak the secret of Aokiji's Sharingan to the top management of Konoha at an appropriate time. By then, Konoha's top brass will definitely be suspicious of Aokiji, and he will also be emotionally affected by this. Qingji sighed. "I think there still needs to be basic trust between people. Optimism is a fatal poison." Elder Itachi lowered his voice, and his tone was a bit dark. "The current Uchiha is like a tightrope walker on an abyss. If he is not careful, he will fall to the bottom and be shattered to pieces. Whether you want your wealth and life to be entrusted to others, or whether you want to keep it firmly in your own hands, I think you should be able to figure it out based on your character. Is the only way to become Hokage." Qing Pheasant sighed with a bit of helplessness. "The way to solve the problem is to find the source of the problem." The eyes on Elder Itachi's old face burst out with raptor-like gaze. "Since the top leaders of Konoha are biased against us, then we Uchiha will replace us, so for naturally, everything about Uchiha's problems can be solved. But even so, it doesn't have to be me. Aoki said reluctantly, I think this little guy Fugaku seems to be quite interested in becoming Hokage, and his talent is pretty good. Fugaku, he is indeed a good training target, but compared to you, he is still a little less interesting. In desperation, Aokiji sighed and agreed to become Hokage with tears in his eyes, brackets. There's really nothing I can do. What should I do next? Be a good ninja and try to give everyone a good impression. Seeing Aoki's sensible attitude, Elder Weasel showed a pleased smile. It's not necessary, just continue to do your own thing. Ching Pheasant. You are working hard to be a good ninja now, how can I send you to investigate Madara's matter? Being able to become a ninja at the level of Hokage is not based on daily accumulation, but on the outstanding contributions made in major events. It is predicted that there will definitely be a war in the future. When the time comes, it will be much more effective for you to work hard during the war and accumulate prestige than to perform a few insignificant tasks in peacetime. When he heard it was a war, Shinji sighed, his eyes a little lonely. It's a war again. Elder Weasel narrowed his meaningful eyes, his scarlet eyes flashing with strange pupils. Aokiji, do you want to eliminate war forever? Abolish war forever? Of course I want to. As if he thought of something, Aokiji's high-spirited mood immediately subsided, but this is something that even Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara couldn't do together. Although I consider myself to be extremely talented, there are mountains beyond the mountains. There are some people out there who are far behind these two great men. A smile appeared on Elder Weasel's lips. Although some dreams are out of reach, they are not unattainable, as long as you are strong enough. Shinji murmured, as long as I am strong enough. Elder Weasel said firmly, yes, strength is the most weighty word in the world. As long as you are strong enough, there is nothing you can't do. Ching Pheasant asked, what should I do? First of all, you have to become Hokage, and secondly, you have to have the power to eliminate blood successors, and... Elder Itachi showed an intriguing smile. The power of the Mangekyo Sharingan, combined with these two powers, you have the power to change everything. Possible. Mangekyo Sharingan. Aokiji came to his senses in a daze, widened his eyes, and resisted. Wait a minute, didn't you just say that there is a risk of blindness in this eye? I don't want to become blind. Elder Itachi closed his eyes and shook his head. I don't intend to let you open the Mangekyo Sharingan. Aoki heard this and was confused. I don't want to activate the Mangekyo Sharingan. Then how do I get the power of the Mangekyo Sharingan? It costs a lot to open the Mangekyo Sharingan. If possible, I don't want you to open these eyes, or even other tribesmen to open these eyes. So my idea is... Elder Itachi opened his eyes and said a name, Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara? Could it be? Aokiji understood that Elder Itachi was planning to find Uchiha Madara's body and then install eyes on him, but the problem is, he is alive and well now, and there is a dead body for him to dig out his eyes. Elder Itachi nodded slightly and said as Aokiji expected, yes, I plan to transplant Uchiha Madara's eyes into your body. How can it be so easy to find Uchiha Madara's body? Aokiji said with a bitter smile, and I don't want to use other people's eyes. It's better to use my own original ones. Elder Weasel showed an intriguing smile. Don't worry, you can find it first. Then I guess I may never find it. Shinji continued to ask, if according to your idea, I obtain these two powers, then what should I do in the future to eliminate all disputes in this world? Elder Itachi replied, you want to unify the entire ninja world. Unify the ninja world? Shinji was shocked. There was a pattern, Elder Itachi explained. At the beginning, Hashirama made a lot of efforts for the peace of the world, including giving away the tailed beasts he had collected so hard, hoping to use the power of the tailed beasts to restrain all countries. But you have also seen that as Chien after Tebashirama's death, these countries were immediately ready to take action, and even turned to using the power of the tailed beasts to start a war. Hashirama, who was originally known as the god of ninja, tried to influence people with love and hope to understand each other. For this reason, he and Madara established Konoha, the paradise in the world. But as soon as he died, the war spread to the Konoha ninja village. The so-called NaN is made up of two characters, upper and lower. The heart represents love, and the sword represents strength. Strength should be placed above love. You also saw that when Hashirama died, there was no strong threat of force, and the world was about to be in chaos. So it is said, only absolute power is the important basis for maintaining peace. For thousands of years, the world has been falling apart. Countries have separated themselves from each other. Everyone has different countries, different civilizations, and different traditions. That's why the world is constantly at war, and there are thousands of wars at a time and they never stop. If you want this world to be peaceful forever, then you have to remove all obstacles, without national boundaries, so that everyone can live together harmoniously. This is the real paradise of this world. Having said this, Elder Weasel raised his arms and clenched his fists, his scarlet eyes exuding strong ominous madness. Shinji looked worried, but if this happens, there will be many unnecessary casualties. Elder Itachi said solemnly, cut the knot with a quick knife. Compared with the continuous war in the future, this is the fastest and most effective way. The establishment of Konoha village was accompanied by many sacrifices in exchange for a short-term peace. If when Senju Hashirama understood this truth and directly unified the entire ninja world with Uchiha Madara, then there wouldn't be so many wars later, and your father, mother, grandmother, etc. wouldn't have to sacrifice, right? As if moved by the words, Shinji clenched his hands into fists and his eyes were as bright as fire. Seeing that the hint was effective, Elder Itachi continued to increase the firepower, stretched out his hand, pointed at Aokiji, and spoke in a straight and crazy tone. Think about it carefully. If you can do what even the founder of Konoha couldn't do with this feat, you, Uchiha Aokiji, will be the savior of this world. Shinji took a breath, and for some reason he saw the mold of a big boss in Elder Weasel. He wondered if it was because he came from the Warring States period and experienced brutal wars that he often had a pathological obsession with peace. Shinji didn't think much about it. To a certain extent, he and Elder Weasel had the same goal. It's not that he has any lofty ideals, he simply thinks that if he has the power, you, a mere famous person, want to stand on my head and shit on me. Are you kidding me? It would be nice if I don't spread all your ashes. Decided to wait until he becomes Hokage. The first thing he did was to ask the daimyo to collect protection money. The protection fee here is not that the daimyo pays the protection fee and I will protect you, but that you pay the protection fee and I will not rob you. Anyway, the daimyo is not a good bird, and the blue pheasant has no psychological burden at all when snatching it. Aokiji breathed out. In short, my current task is to try to find Uchiha Madara's body. Elder Weasel nodded. Finding Uchiha's body is a very difficult task. You see, I am a rare double-blooded limited ninja. It would be bad if I die on the road during the mission. So, do you think you can sponsor me a tail? A powerful ninja tool for me to defend myself? Shinji smiled and winked. This reason was quite reasonable. After hearing this, Elder Weasel did not refuse. He slightly raised his eyelids and said, tell me what kind of props you want, so that your family can support you as much as possible. In the early years, Uchiha Madara had collected a lot of powerful ninja tools, but as he turned on the Mangekyo Sharingan, these things were of little use. If Aokiji wanted, he could go to the collection and take out one or two as gifts. To each other, I'm not polite if you say that. Aokiji asked tentatively, do you have a Kusanagi sword? Chapter 80 Diamond Star Fist. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Boom boom boom. The thick, high-temperature dust suddenly spread rapidly to the surroundings. The Kirigakure ninjas who had gathered to attack could not see clearly, and their success was in vain. This dust-hiding technique can cause high-temperature damage to surrounding enemies after being used, and it can also use the dust mixed in the flames to obstruct the enemy's sight and take the opportunity to escape. This move mainly focuses on retreat. Even if it hurts friendly Tsunade, it will not cause too much damage. Moreover, Tsunade's body, which inherited Hashirama's bloodline, is relatively resistant. This move should not cause too much damage to her. Using the cover of a large amount of dust, Aokiji picked up Tsunade who was on the ground and ran away, rushing out of the dust smoke. Damn it! The Kirigakure ninja cursed bitterly, his eyes widened, and he was furious. The duck in his mouth was actually mugged by a kid who didn't know where he came from. How could he not be angry? To block the honor of the shinobi of Kirigakure village, Tsunade must be brought back, otherwise there will be no face to face the village. As the dust dispersed, the Kirigakure ninja was dumbfounded. There were feet in the four directions of southeast, northwest and northwest on the snow. It seemed that the kid had stayed behind to confuse the enemy's footsteps. Captain, do you want to split up and chase? A Kirigakure ninja suggested. The Kirigakure jounin had a deep expression on his face. He bent down, stared at it, and measured the footprints in different directions. The footprints in one direction would be darker than the others, the footprints on the snow will be deeper or shallower depending on the person's weight. The kid's weight will naturally be different when he leads the person to escape. Although the footprints were not very different, they were still deduced by the keen eyes of the Kirigakure jounin. It's a small skill, but a little kid dares to come to save people. He doesn't know how high the sky is. After confirming the direction, Kirigakure's ninja gave an order with a straight face and led his subordinates to follow the footprints left by Aoki's escape path and pursue him all the way. In the snow, Aokiji cut the hemp rope around Tsunade's body in his busy schedule and urged loudly, "Tsunade, how long are you going to rely on me? If you don't come down, we will be overtaken." Aoki has the advantage of running first and gaining some distance, but the people behind him are not a vegetarian either, especially with a person hanging on him, so he can't run fast no matter what. I was poisoned and couldn't exert any strength. Tsunade spoke weakly. She was holding back a lot of things to ask the other party, but now was obviously not the time to ask this. What did you say? Shinji's eyes widened. He originally planned to use Tsunade as a fighting force, but now he couldn't rely on her fighting strength, and she became a liability. This is the worst possible outcome. In fact, if you think about it carefully, you can understand how it is possible that Tsunade's brute strength cannot untie the rope that binds her body. Misfortunes never come singly. Shinji, who was running with the princess in his arms, found several figures approaching quickly behind him. The unexpected and rapid counterattack made his eyes widen for a moment, and his face was full of astonishment. What's the situation? He remembered that he should use the shadow clone to confuse his vision. Why did these people seem to know where they were running, and they all ran towards him? Although I don't understand why, I don't have any extra time to think about it now. Shinji looked at the surrounding environment, gritted his back molars, and felt heartbroken. Tsunade saw the other party's difficulty and said with a somewhat sad tone, "Leave me alone, their target is me. If you run with me in your arms, both of us will be arrested." Then, Shinji followed her instructions and really threw her on the road without any hesitation. Tsunade rolled on the ground with a confused look on her face. "That's true, but you should hesitate for a moment. The soul is weak." Aokiji didn't have time to pay attention to Tsunade, who was on the ground and was full of inner drama. With a few wheezes, he threw out a large number of shurikens with detonating charms attached to them, inserted them into the ice wall, and exploded several times, shaking the sky and the earth, causing an avalanche. Shinji looked distressed. Those two attacks just now cost him a lot of money. The detonating talisman is expensive to make, but he usually saves money to buy it to deal with emergencies. Seeing the avalanche coming, the Kirigakure ninja who had been attacked by Aoki before quickly jumped away. When people jump into the air, they have inertia and it is difficult to move at will. Aokiji predicted this and formed a seal in advance. The chakra was concentrated in his throat and he used ninjutsu. Fire escape, the technique of dragon flame singing. Aokiji spit out 4 fireballs in one breath, and quickly transformed while galloping in midair. He looked like a dragon, grinned, and roared at the Kirigakure ninja to bite them. This fire release move is the fastest ninjutsu that Aokiji can do at the moment while taking into account strength. If Uchiha Madara were to use this move, it would be a move that even Kage-level Tsunade would not be able to dodge and would have to choose to resist forcefully. This shows how excellent the speed and range are. Of course, this has a lot to do with the strength of the caster, but since it can be used specifically by Uchiha Madara, it obviously shows the excellent mechanism of this ninjutsu. Aokiji's dragon flame singing was far from his level, but the level of his opponent was also far from Tsunade's level. This move caught him off guard. The Kirigakure ninja in mid-air could not avoid it and wanted to use water escape to resist the attack, but the speed of the fire dragon was too fast. In the middle of the seal, in the blink of an eye, the blazing fire light was already shining. On the face, there was no time to take a breath, so naturally there was no chance to escape. Accompanied by a loud explosion and flames shooting into the sky, most of the ninjas were squishy. Being hit by such a move can almost be considered as losing combat effectiveness. Qingji gasped for breath, his face covered with a layer of solemnity. The difficulty of the dragon flame singing technique reaches around B level. This is a ninjutsu that only jounin can master proficiently, and it also requires a large amount of chakra to be released smoothly to ensure its power. Just now, he had consumed a lot of his chakra. Now that he was facing many enemies, he had to clear out the powerful soldiers in the shortest possible time. Once the enemy adapts to his ability, it will be troublesome to deal with it. With a hiss, a kunai broke through the wind. Lightning flashed across Han Mang's eyebrows. Aokiji tilted his neck to avoid the kunai's thrust, raised his arm, and grabbed the enemy's wrist with one hand. The move missed, and the Kirigakure ninja used his other hand to attack, and Aokiji also took out his other hand to grab it. For a moment, the two were hand to hand and eye to eye. At this time, Aokiji really wanted to activate the Sharingan directly. The Sharingan can implant illusions through the eyes. At such a close range, the opponent will never be able to react. However, the level of Aoki Sharingan is low, and it takes at least 3 Magatama to cast illusions with his eyes, and he is not very good at using illusions. Illusion is a very powerful thing, but lackluster in the later stage. Qingji didn't study this aspect at all. All he asked of himself was that he didn't fall into illusion. The most important thing is that he also devotes so much energy to studying illusions. During the stalemate, a Kirigakure ninja took advantage of the opportunity and slashed vertically with a knife. Aokiji quickly let go of his hand, kicked his feet down, and used the force to retreat, barely avoiding the attack. At the same time, he directly opened his Sharingan to improve his insight and observe the enemy's movements. The prerequisite for hiding strength is also a scoring occasion. In this situation, he didn't want to be smart. He should come up with any useful tricks as soon as possible. Taking down the opponent first was the first priority. In this situation, if he is not careful, he is very likely to overturn. Seeing these scarlet eyes, the Kirigakure ninja's eyes widened. It turned out to be the Uchiha clan. Uchiha is the ninja who is best at using fire escape in the ninja world. No wonder this brat could use such a powerful fire escape ninjutsu just now. In other words, the two Kirigakure ninjas lost their best opportunity to dodge during the short period of time they had their eyes wide open. The two of them saw Aokiji forming seals quickly, and as they had learned from the past, they subconsciously thought that he would use the fire release ninjutsu next, and hurriedly began to form seals to deal with it. Chakra gathered in his throat, ready to attack. At the same time, Qing Pheasant is also ready, and the battle is about to begin. Water escape, water flow wall. The two Kirigakure ninjas attacked at the same time, spitting out waterfall like water from their mouths. The rapid water pressure could hinder all fire attacks. Aoki's fire release and dragon flame singing technique just now left a deep impression on these two people. Not only was it incredibly fast, but its power and range were also first-rate. The 5 major escape techniques are mutually reinforcing and restraining each other. Water escape restraining fire escape is a very obvious example, so there is no problem in using water escape to deal with Aoki Pheasant's fire escape, but at one point, it seemed like they were using the wrong ninjutsu. The ninjutsu to greet them is Ice Escape Diamond Star Fist.